Hello and welcome to the course overview for Swift 5 in 4 hours. Hi, my name is Kushal Ashok and I've been working with iOS applications for almost 8 years now. I have started from Objective-C because I have been working for so long, and I have been working on Swift as well. And I have tried to master the Xcode integrated development environment because this is the tool that we use day in and day out to develop these applications. I've worked with multiple multinational corporations, and I've also worked with fast-paced startups. I enjoy learning about new programming languages and technology, so if you have something to share, feel free to get in touch with me. I've also attended Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference 2018 and 19, which helped me learn a few things and tips that I'm going to share in this course with you. Let's have a quick overview of this course. This course has been divided into 7 sections. What we will learn in this course is to get started with Swift, how to use the Swift programming language, how do you design user interface, how do you integrate web service calls and parse the response, how to use frameworks like CoreLocation, how to debug your application, how to test your application, and how to submit it to App Store. Next, we're going to cover each of these sections a little bit in detail to give you an overview of each section. In the first section, getting started with Swift, we will cover the basics of the Swift programming language. Of course, we will start by setting up your development environment, and then we will talk about variables, simple data types, optionals, arrays, functions, protocols, etc. We will go through some coding examples as we move forward so you can understand and see the output by yourself. We would also be covering the new features of Swift 5 programming language as we go through all of these videos. In the next section, designing the user interface, we will cover the UI kit elements and start working on our application which lists the earthquakes happening around the world. We will use various UI kit elements like UI view, UI image view, UI button, UI label, and UI table view. We will start by learning the model view controller design pattern, and then we will learn how to use auto layout in Xcode. We will also add some views as well as the main table view to understand the usage of delegate and data source. In iOS applications, mastering table view can take you long distances. In the next section, integrating web services and JSON parsing, we're going to learn how to make a web service call, and then once you get the JSON response, how do you parse it for your application. For this, we will make a call to a public API, and then once we get the JSON response, we will learn how to finish the parsing using the traditional method, which is of course most common these days, but we will then get into more detailed codable protocol, which makes it much simpler for you in Swift. Now, once the data has been parsed for you, we will help you put it on your UI using the table view. We will also learn how do you add some UI alerts to let the user know something has happened, and then we will also share the loading indicators because it helps users understand that you are making a web service call or something is happening that may not want the user to tap and instead wait for it to finish. In the next section, we will learn how to use the CoreLocation framework. Now, Apple has a ton of frameworks for you to work with, but in this particular section, we will learn how to use this CoreLocation framework to get the user's location. We will also learn how to update your info.plist file to explain the usage of this location framework to your application users. We will use the CL geocoder to get details like city name from the coordinates of the user. We will also talk about some error handling and efficiency management as we make use of these frameworks. In the next section, we're going to talk about how do you debug your application. Now, debugging is very important for any developer, and Xcode IDE gives you a lot of capabilities for debugging the code. We will cover the debugging methods and practices as well as share some troubleshooting techniques for your application development. We will start by adding, disabling, deleting breakpoints, and we're going to talk about the debug bar, the variables view, as well as the LLDB debugger. We will then talk about some troubleshooting techniques to help you deal with them as you develop your own application. In the next section, we're going to talk about UI testing. Now, UI testing helps us go through the entire life cycle of the application and ensure that there are no functional issues in your application. There are various ways of performing UI testing, and in this section, we will help you create UI tests as well as check your code coverage. We will also learn how to add identifiers to your objects and then find them within your UI test. In the last section, which is called Submission to App Store, we're going to help you understand how can you submit an app to the App Store, what kind of requirements there are, what kind of knowledge you need of the App Store rules and guidelines. You will learn how to submit the app while preparing the required assets. For example, you learn how to create an app icon, where to upload your build, where to upload your screenshots, and how to add some additional information to help go through the app review faster. There are certain prerequisites for this course, of course. You should have a good understanding of the software programming, and you should have a Mac computer with Mac OS 1014.4 or newer. If you're asking yourself, why Swift? Now, any programming language backed by a company like Apple is definitely gonna create some noise in the market, and it has already done so. It was created by Apple in 2014, and now we are already having Swift 5. It is having a large supportive community behind it. Now, of course, there are Apple developers working behind it, which are one of the smartest developers out there. Plus, it's open source, so you get abundance of third-party tools and support online. This programming language safeguards and prevents errors while improving the readability of your code. As you learn about optionals, you will learn how type inference works. You will learn how exactly the Swift language safeguards you. And of course, it's 2.6 faster than Objective-C and 8.4 times faster than Python, which is also very popular these days. And if you check the online surveys and research is done, you will learn that it is one of the most popular programming languages of 2020. In this course, we have 3 goals. First is to introduce you to the Swift 5 programming language. Second is to help you use frameworks to build the UI of your application and populate data from certain APIs. And third step is to test your application and then upload it to the App Store. So let's get started.